Demogorgon. This is the first monster to ever appear in Stranger Things, the first to cross the border between dimensions, the one responsible for throwing Hawkins into a spiral of terror, and for proving, in the most horrifying way, that something was deeply wrong in that town. The origin of the Demogorgon is completely tied to the secret experiments at the Hawkins lab, specifically the tests with 11 inside the void. There, in that silent, pitch-black space with no visual reference, no sense of distance or direction, 11 walks alone, guided only by the sound of her own breathing and the faint echo of water under her feet. It's there, in that emptiness, while trying to locate something Dr. Brenner asked for, that she touches something she shouldn't have. The connection with the Upside Down is immediate. When she reaches that other dimension, 11 unintentionally draws the Demogorgon's attention. And it reacts instinctively to her presence. That mental encounter rips open a fissure, a literal crack between both worlds, the first portal. The Demogorgon's appearance is unmistakable. Tall, humanoid, and muscular, its skin looks slick, wet, and semi-translucent, as if always covered by a layer of slime. But the most striking part is its head. Instead of eyes, a nose, or a mouth, there's a circular opening that splits into petals like a monstrous flower. Each petal is lined with sharp, blade-like teeth spiraling inward. Its behavior is also very specific. The Demogorgon hunts through sound, vibrations, and, most of all, the smell of blood. It doesn't need sight to find its prey. It reacts to even the faintest stimuli, moving fast and silently. That ability to pass through dimensions as if pulling back a transparent curtain makes it unpredictable. It can emerge from the ceiling, the wall, or straight from the floor. When attacking, it behaves like a perfect predator, fast, precise, and strong enough to drag a full-grown human effortlessly. But the most disturbing part is that it rarely kills right away. The Demogorgon captures, stores, and keeps its victims in the Upside Down, as if stockpiling food. The group tried weapons, traps, even fire. Nothing worked. The one who turns the tide is 11. In the final confrontation, she steps between the monster and her friends, channeling every bit of her power to unleash a telekinetic blast that disintegrates the Demogorgon into dust. But here's the twist. The Demogorgon wasn't the true villain. It was just the beginning, a pawn of a much greater intelligence. Its death didn't end the threat. It only paved the way for something far more powerful. Dart and the Demodogs. The Demodogs arrive in full force in Season 2. If the Demogorgon was terrifying alone, imagine a smaller, faster, more aggressive version, and one that hunts in packs. That's exactly what these creatures are, the intermediate stage in a Demogorgon's life cycle. They start off as weird, slug-like creatures, grow at an insane rate, and eventually turn into four-legged predators with claws and teeth. It all begins with Will, who at the end of Season 1 spits up something strange in the sink, something from the Upside Down. That thing becomes a tadpole-like creature, or better yet, Dart. Dustin finds it in the trash and immediately decides it's a perfect exotic pet, worthy of a cool name. And thus, D'Artagnan, or Dart for short, is born. At first it seems harmless, small, slimy, even a little cute, glowing faintly under the light. But soon the metamorphosis begins. The larval stage shows Dart as a crawling slug, obsessed with chocolate bars. Then comes the juvenile phase. Its growth speeds up, limbs begin to form, and it becomes quicker, braver, and far less pet material. This is when Dustin starts realizing something's wrong, especially when Dart's appetite shifts to living things. Yeah, Dustin's mom's cat becomes Dart's first victim. Horrified, Dustin tries to trap him in the basement. And it works for a while, but the creature escapes. Once it reaches adulthood, Dart becomes a full Demodog. That means a body built for hunting, muscular frame, 4 powerful limbs, sharp senses, and a flower-like head full of teeth, just like the Demogorgons. The difference is that the Demodog is faster and far more coordinated, but the most terrifying trait is their pack behavior. Unlike the lone Demogorgon, the Demodogs operate as a perfectly synchronized unit, each one aware of the others, moving with hive-like precision. That's because they're all controlled by one single mind, the Mind Flayer. They aren't individuals. They're extensions of its will. This becomes terrifyingly clear during the attack on Hawkins' lab, when the Demodogs swarm the building, tearing through soldiers, doors, and systems in perfect unison. Even so, Dart retains something unique, emotional memory. At the end, when he sees Dustin again, he hesitates, recognizes him. That small flicker of emotion shows that even monsters might carry traces of what they once were. And this pack is just the beginning, the army of something far worse. The Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer in its shadow form is the first sign that the danger in Hawkins is much greater than any physical monster. It appears in Season 2 as a massive black cloud, a living storm of swirling particles. No claws, no teeth, no flesh, just pure, intelligent evil that can exist anywhere in the Upside Down without needing a body. This version of the Mind Flayer acts like a collective mind. It doesn't just watch, it controls. Smaller creatures, Demodogs, parasites, even humans, all become its extensions. It's as if every infected being is a device connected to the same network. What one feels, they all feel. It thinks, and they act. It's a hive mind, a conscious virus with one goal: expand its dominion. In Season 2, it finds the perfect entry point: Will Byers. The connection starts with visions, flashes of the Upside Down, sudden temperature drops, stabbing headaches. But soon the visions turn into full control. Once possessed, Will begins to see through the creature's eyes and feel what it feels. He becomes an unwilling spy, feeding real-world information, strategies, locations, and movements directly to the monster's mind. That puts all of Hawkins at risk, because the Mind Flayer now has intel from this side. Luckily, by the end of Season 2, the group manages to drive it out of Will, and 11 closes the portal. But as we all know, things were far from over, because in Season 3, the creature comes back, stronger than ever. That shadow that left Will stayed behind, and instead of just watching, it acted. It infected Hawkins' residents, who began to behave like silent zombies. Those hosts were lured to the abandoned factory, only to melt down and become raw material. That organic mass then shaped itself into the spider monster, a grotesque physical version of the Mind Flayer. But hold on, we'll get to that soon. The Flayed. The Flayed are one of the most disturbing threats in Stranger Things. Because they aren't traditional monsters, they're ordinary people controlled by a greater power, the Mind Flayer. Once infected, a person loses all control of their body, becoming a living extension of the creature's collective consciousness. They keep moving, but the mind is no longer theirs. At first, the Flayed can appear normal, but the signs creep in: distant behavior, sudden aggression, vacant eyes, and robotic obedience. In Season 3, Billy Hargrove becomes the first major case. After being captured by the Mind Flayer in the warehouse, Billy becomes an involuntary recruiter, infecting others across Hawkins, including co-workers like Heather, who's kidnapped and turned into another puppet of the Mind Flayer. Their main purpose is to feed and strengthen the creature, but their fate is the most horrifying part. When the Mind Flayer needs to take physical form, all the infected melt into a grotesque red mass that fuses into a larger creature, like the spider monster we'll see soon. One of the most shocking moments involving the Flayed happens at Hawkins Hospital, when Nancy and Jonathan face Bruce and Tom, who become the hospital monster. This is one of the most disgusting and shocking scenes of Season 3. This creature isn't born in the Upside Down, it's created by the Mind Flayer's total control. It forms when the Flayed, Bruce and Tom, melt into a dark red slime and merge into a single pulsating organism. The hospital monster's appearance is pure biological horror. It looks like a living mass of muscle, blood, and bone, reassembled in all the wrong ways. Even worse, human features and bones are still visible, trapped inside the flesh. When it attacks Nancy and Jonathan at Hawkins Hospital, it's fast, violent, and powerful enough to crash through walls and throw people across the room with a single hit. Every movement makes its body quiver, as if it's constantly mutating. Once again, 11 arrives just in time to save them, defeating the creature at least for the moment. The most disturbing thing about it is its resilience. You can crush it, stab it, slice it just reforms, pulling its melted pieces back together like magnetic flesh. There's no killing it, not really. It retreats only when it chooses to, following the Mind Flayer's command. That's the key. The monster has no will of its own. It's a biological drone built to hunt, attack, and intimidate. Nothing about it is random, and its evolution is somehow even worse. Spider Monster. This is, without exaggeration, one of the worst nightmares ever shown in Stranger Things. It appears in Season 3 as the most extreme and most disgusting form of the Mind Flayer's power. This is where basically every possessed human and animal, the Flayed, come together. They melt, turn into a pulsating pool of flesh, and form a monster just like the hospital creature, only much bigger. The spider monster's design is terrifying. It's not exactly a spider, but the shape is similar. Several thick, muscular legs, a massive central body, and movement that's far too fast for something that heavy. Bones, tendons, organs, and muscles are all exposed, reorganized in ways that look painfully wrong. This creature isn't independent. It's a physical avatar of the Mind Flayer, a kind of main body made from organic matter. That means it doesn't act like a wild animal. It thinks, it plans. Every move is calculated because its real mind is in the Upside Down, controlling everything in real time. time. The spider monster's mission is clear: eliminate 11 and anyone standing in the Mind Flayer's way. The most iconic battle takes place inside Starcourt Mall. The monster storms the building, smashing through walls, collapsing pillars, destroying entire stores. Everything falls apart as if made of paper. The mix of sheer mass, speed, and reach makes it almost unstoppable. The group is forced to improvise desperately, turning the entire mall into a battleground just to survive. But the emotional aspect never disappears. Every piece of this creature came from real people. People from Hawkins whose lives were stolen, dissolved, and reshaped into raw material. The spider monster is also responsible for Billy's death. After 11 helps him remember a childhood memory of his mother, he breaks free from the Mind Flayer's control. In one final act of heroism, Billy sacrifices himself to save 11 and is impaled by the creature. Demobat. The Demobats arrive in Season 4, bringing a whole new kind of terror to the Upside Down. If the Demogorgons are brutal and the Demodogs are fast, the Demobats are simply unavoidable. They fly, they attack in swarms, and worse, they're directly connected to Vecna's hive mind, acting as his eyes and ears across the dimension. At first they look like mutant bats, but soon it's clear they're much deadlier. They strike in packs, surrounding their prey and attacking with sharp teeth and tails that work like strangling tentacles. Their bodies resemble bats, but their mouths are exactly like the Demogorgons, filled with rows of teeth. Their biggest advantage is mobility. They fly fast and patrol constantly around Vecna's lair, making any exploration in the Upside Down incredibly dangerous. No matter how quiet you are, and if one Demobat sees you, the whole swarm sees you, and Vecna sees you too. One of the most memorable scenes involving these creatures happens when Steve dives into the Watergate portal and is attacked almost instantly. The Demobats latch onto him, bite, slash, and try to strangle him, showing how coordinated they are. Honestly, watching that scene for the first time, it really felt like Steve was going to die. Thankfully, he doesn't. Nancy, Robin, and Eddie rush in to save him, and Steve manages to escape that brutal beating. But the most emotional and unforgettable moment comes with Eddie Munson. To buy time for the group, Eddie decides to face an entire swarm alone. He grabs a shield and a makeshift spear, rides out on his bike, and lures the creatures toward him, becoming their main target. When the swarm reaches him, Eddie fights as best he can, but the Demobats are too fast, too relentless. They overwhelm him, taking his life in the Upside Down.
I think it's my year, Anderson. I think it's finally my year.
The Demobats also serve as a natural barrier around Vecna's lair, tireless aerial sentinels. They're perfect spies, small, fast, quiet, and connected to the hive mind. A single Demobat can expose any intruder's location in seconds. Vecna. Vecna arrives in Season 4 as the kind of villain that changes everything. Right from the first episode, he claims his first victim, cheerleader Chrissy Cunningham, in one of the most brutal deaths in the series. But Vecna isn't just another monster, he's the mastermind behind all the chaos. Before turning into that horrifying creature, Vecna was Henry Creel, a boy born with extremely rare psychic abilities, so powerful and natural that Dr. Brenner made him his first test subject, the legendary number 1. But Henry was never a victim. From a young age, he saw the world as rotten, full of lies and weak, inferior people. That mindset led him to manipulate minds, twist memories, and create hallucinations for his own family, until he finally murdered his mother and sister, framing his father for the crime. That was the first real glimpse of the monster he would become. After the massacre, Henry was captured and taken to Hawkins' lab, where Brenner tried to control him using the Soteria, a device implanted to suppress his powers. Even restrained, Henry watched and waited silently for the right moment. When he met 11, he saw someone equally powerful and used that to his advantage. He helped her try to escape the lab and revealed that the device blocked his powers. Trusting him, 11 helped remove it, not realizing the monster she was about to unleash. Once freed, Henry unleashed a brutal massacre in the lab, killing almost everyone. He tried to convince 11 to join him, sharing his twisted idea of cleansing the world by destroying the weak, but she refused and fought back. Their psychic clash was so intense that it tore open a rift between dimensions. 11 channeled every ounce of her power and banished Henry into the Upside Down. In that realm, he was struck by energy bursts, burned, reshaped, and fused with the environment. That's where Vecna was born, a hybrid entity, humanoid but completely adapted to the ecosystem of the Upside Down. His skin looks necrotic, wet, and uneven, his muscles exposed. Dark veins run across his body like wires. Tentacles sprout from his back, connecting him to the ground, vines, and the dimension's nervous system, allowing him to tap into the hive mind at will. His left hand became a long, claw-like appendage. His face looks burned by the atmosphere itself, and his eyes are lifeless, emphasizing that he's no longer human. And his powers only grew stronger. Vecna doesn't kill with brute strength. He targets people haunted by deep trauma, guilt, grief, shame. First, he enters their mind, creating vivid, personal visions. Then he traps them in a psychic trance, forcing them to relive their pain until they can't fight back. Finally comes the execution. Bones snap, eyes implode and the body collapses lifelessly. Each death opens a new portal between the Upside Down and Hawkins, part of his plan to collapse the barrier entirely. To complete his ritual, he needs 4 deaths. His final target is Max, who's haunted by Vecna throughout the entire season. In the end, she volunteers to act as bait to help her friends defeat him. But things don't go as planned. Vecna kills her in one of the most heartbreaking scenes of the series.
Max, no, Max, stay with me. Max, stay with me. No, Max.
Fortunately, 11 is there and manages to bring Max back to life, though she ends up in a coma at the hospital. Still, Vecna's plan works. With Max's brief death, the 4th portal opens, and a massive rift splits through all of Hawkins. Vecna had been pulling the strings all along, shaping the Mind Flayer, orchestrating attacks, and using the creature as an extension of his own mind, almost like a giant avatar built to carry out his will while he stayed hidden. To him, 11 is the only true threat, the only one capable of matching him. He sees in her both the key to his defeat and to his ultimate victory, because absorbing her power would make him unstoppable. His plan is simple: merge both dimensions, destroy Hawkins, and rebuild the world in his twisted image of order. A patient, strategic, and manipulative mastermind. So, will he succeed? We'll find out soon. For now, drop a comment below. What do you think will happen in Season 5? Do you think anyone's going to die? On screen is a video with the most heartbreaking deaths in Stranger Things. Click it and check it out. I'll see you there.